The courtroom was silent, but the tension was thick enough to choke on. Robyn sat at the front, her face streaked with tears, clutching a tissue in one hand and her composure in the other. "I know this isn't goodbye, but I know I'll still see you and stuff. Yeah." Every eye in the room flicked between her and Cody, who looked smaller than he ever had on camera, his bravado stripped away by months of public fallout and private betrayals. Christine's new husband, David Woolley, stood up, his voice steady, but his words cutting straight through the years of secrets and excuses. For a moment, it felt like the entire history of the Brown family was on trial, not just Cody. The heartbreak was real, the betrayals impossible to ignore, and the collapse of trust echoed in every whispered conversation and every sidelong glance. This wasn't just another family squabble. This was the moment everything changed. Robyn's tears weren't just for herself. They were for the dream that had crumbled, for the promises broken, and for the family that would never be the same. And as David exposed the truth, Cody's world seemed to shrink, the weight of his choices finally catching up to him. Hi friends, I'm Helena, and you're watching TLC Sister Wives News. If you're as shocked as I am by what's happening, make sure you hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss a single update. And I want to hear from you. Do you think the Browns can ever recover from this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. When Sister Wives first hit our screens, the Browns promised something radical, a big, blended family built on faith, teamwork, and the idea that love could multiply, not divide. Cody led the way, convinced that his vision of plural marriage would bring everyone closer. Robyn was the last to join, and her arrival was supposed to complete the family, not fracture it. Back then, there were group dinners, shared holidays, in a sense that even with all the challenges, they were all in it together. The dream was simple. One family, many hearts, all pulling in the same direction. But as the seasons rolled on, cracks started to show. The move from Las Vegas to Flagstaff was supposed to be a fresh start, but it only made things worse. The wives found themselves in separate homes, and the distance between them grew, not just physically, but emotionally. Suspicion crept in, especially as Cody's attention seemed to settle more and more on Robyn. Christine, once the peacemaker, started to feel invisible. Janelle, always practical, grew tired of carrying the financial weight. Meri, the original wife, was left on the outside, her loyalty tested again and again. Robyn, who had once been the hopeful newcomer, became the lightning rod for resentment. Then came David Woolley, Christine's new husband, bringing a sense of stability and support that Christine had never found with Cody. The family's unity, once their greatest strength, turned into a battleground of old wounds and new alliances. What started as a bold experiment in love and faith slowly unraveled into a public collapse, with every episode exposing just how far they drifted from the dream that brought them together. The Browns weren't just losing each other, they were losing themselves. Money was always the silent storm cloud hanging over the Brown family, but in recent seasons, it's become impossible to ignore. The dream of Coyote Pass was supposed to be their fresh start, a sprawling piece of land in Flagstaff where each wife would finally have her own home, but still be close enough to feel like a family. Cody talked about building, planning, and creating a legacy, but the reality was a mess of delays, disagreements, and mounting bills. The land sat empty, weeds growing taller than the promises made on moving day. Every time the family gathered to talk about Coyote Pass, you could see the hope draining from their faces. The money just wasn't there, and the unity they once had was replaced by finger-pointing and frustration. The Flagstaff house became another flashpoint. Robyn's home, bigger and more expensive than the others, quickly turned into a symbol of everything that was going wrong. On camera, Meri's face said it all. She was tired of being asked to sacrifice while watching Robyn get what she wanted. There's that unforgettable scene where Meri, voice shaking, asks Cody why her needs always come last. She's been running her own business, trying to stay afloat, but the family's shared debts keep pulling her back in. The resentment is raw, and it's not just about money, it's about feeling valued, or not. Christine's confessions to the camera were some of the most honest moments the show has ever given us. She admitted she was tired of pouring her energy and resources into a family that didn't make her feel loved or secure. When she finally decided to leave, it wasn't just about Kody's emotional neglect. It was about the financial strain, the endless cycle of giving without getting anything back. Christine's move to Utah with her kids and her new life with David Woolley was a declaration of independence, a refusal to keep paying into a system that left her empty. Janelle, always the practical one, tried to keep the peace in the books balanced. She worked, saved, and even invested in real estate, but the constant pressure to help cover family expenses wore her down.
In one episode, she admits she's worried about her own future, realizing that her financial security is tied up in a family that's falling apart. The shared debts, the stalled dreams, and the unequal sacrifices didn't just break the bank. They broke the bonds that once held the Browns together. Every dollar spent became another reason to question the family's foundation, and every unpaid bill was a reminder that the dream was slipping further out of reach. Robyn's journey with the Browns started with hope, but lately her PR essence feels more like a shadow than a light. In the early years, she was eager to fit in, always trying to bridge gaps and keep the peace. But as the family's troubles piled up, Robyn's role shifted. The camera often catches her sitting apart from the group, her eyes red from crying, her voice quieter than before. There's a heaviness to her now, a sense that she's carrying more than her share of the family's burdens. In one episode, Robyn admits she feels like the scapegoat, blamed for decisions she didn't make and for a family dynamic she can't control. The tension is written all over her face during family meetings. When the talk turns to money or the future of Coyote Pass, Robyn looks away, her hands fidgeting in her lap. She's no longer the hopeful newcomer. She's the one everyone seems to resent. The other wives, especially Christine and Janelle, have stopped hiding their frustration. Even Cody, who once defended Robyn at every turn, seems more distant, his patience worn thin by the constant stress. Fans have noticed the change too. Social media lights up every time Robyn appears withdrawn or overwhelmed on screen. Viewers point out how she's missing from group outings, how she avoids eye contact during tense conversations, how her interviews are filled with tears and uncertainty. The speculation has only grown louder. Is Robyn thinking about leaving? Could she really walk away from Cody after everything they've been through? The rumors picked up steam when Robyn started spending more time off camera, skipping family events and keeping her personal life private. Some fans believe she's looking for a way out, tired of being the lightning rod for everyone's anger. Others think she's just overwhelmed, trying to protect her kids from the fallout. Whatever the truth, the Robyn we see now is a far cry from the woman who once believed she could help hold the family together. Her isolation is real, and it's become one of the most heartbreaking parts of the Brown story. Christine's transformation since leaving Cody has been nothing short of inspiring. For years, she put on a brave face, trying to make the best of a situation that left her feeling invisible and unappreciated. But the moment she decided to walk away, everything changed. Viewers watched as Christine packed up her life in Flagstaff, loaded her kids into the car, and headed for Utah with a sense of relief that was almost palpable. The weight she'd been carrying for so long seemed to lift, and for the first time in years, Christine looked genuinely happy. Her social media became a window into her new life. Photos of family dinners, laughter with her kids, and quiet moments with David Woolley started popping up, each one a little brighter than the last. Christine didn't just find love again, she found someone who truly saw her. David's support is obvious, whether he's cheering her on at a family event or just holding her hand during a tough moment. The difference between David and Cody is night and day. Where Cody often dismissed Christine's concerns or tried to talk over her, David listens. He encourages her to speak up, to demand what she's owed, and to never settle for less than she deserves. On the show, Christine's newfound confidence is impossible to miss. She's no longer afraid to call out unfairness, especially when it comes to money. In one memorable episode, she sits across from Cody and calmly explains why she won't be leaving without her share of the family's assets. She's done sacrificing for a system that never gave back. Fans rallied behind her, flooding her Instagram with messages of support and gratitude for showing what it looks like to stand up for yourself. Christine's journey isn't just about finding happiness with David. It's about reclaiming her voice and her worth. She's become a symbol of hope for anyone who's ever felt stuck or undervalued. And why David by her side, Christine is finally living the life she always deserved, proving that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away and start over. Meri's patience has always been her trademark, but even she has limits. Years of feeling sidelined and overlooked finally reached a breaking point when the family's finances came under the spotlight. Meri's business ventures, like her bed and breakfast in Utah, were supposed to be her ticket to independence. She poured her energy into building something of her own, hoping it would give her a sense of security outside the family's tangled web. But as the bills for Robyn's Flagstaff house piled up and the Coyote Pass project stalled, Meri started to question where her money was really going. On screen, Meri's frustration is impossible to miss. In one tense conversation, she confronts Cody about the money she contributed, demanding to know why her investment ended up funding someone else's dream. Her voice is steady, but there's a raw edge to it, a mix of anger and disappointment that's been building for years.
Janelle's journey has been just as complicated. Always the practical one, she managed the family's finances for years, juggling bills and making sure everyone had what they needed. But as the family fractured, Janelle realized her own future was at risk. In a candid episode, she admits to feeling trapped, her savings tied up in properties and projects that no longer made sense. Janelle's push for independence became a central storyline, with her openly questioning Cody's decisions and refusing to blindly follow his lead. The tension between Janelle and Cody reached a boiling point when she insisted on transparency and fairness. She wanted her share, not just for herself, but for her children's future. The old days of quietly going along with the plan were over. Both Meri and Janelle made it clear they were done sacrificing for a family structure that left them feeling used. Their demands for accountability weren't just about money. They were about finally being seen and heard after years of being pushed to the background. Kody Brown's world has shrunk, and it shows. Once the center of a sprawling family, he now finds himself more isolated than ever, both on screen and off. The man who used to juggle 4 marriages and a dozen kids is left with empty rooms and echoing silence. Financially, the pressure is relentless. The Coyote Pass land sits undeveloped. The family's shared accounts are tangled, and the TLC paychecks don't stretch as far as they used to. Cody's frustration spills out in every episode. He paces, he rants, he blames the wives for not sticking together. But the truth is, he's running out of people to blame. In recent episodes, viewers have watched Cody try to patch things up with the women who left. He calls, he texts, he even shows up in person, offering apologies that sound more desperate than sincere. To Christine, he admits he didn't appreciate her enough. To Janelle, he promises to do better. With Meri, he tries to rewrite history, insisting he always cared. But the responses are cold, sometimes even silent. Christine listens, but her eyes are clear. She's moved on. Janelle is polite but distant, focused on her own future. Meri, once the most loyal, barely looks up from her phone. Social media hasn't been kind to Cody either. Fans dissect every word, every gesture, calling out his attempts at damage control. His posts are flooded with comments urging him to take responsibility, to let the women go, to finally grow up. The image of Cody as the confident patriarch has faded, replaced by a man scrambling to hold on to a family that's already gone. The more he tries to fix things, the more obvious it becomes. Cody is alone, and the life he built is slipping through his fingers. The courtroom felt like the final act in a drama that had been building for years. Robyn, usually so careful to keep her emotions in check, couldn't hold back any longer. Tears streamed down her face as she listened to the details of the family's finances being laid bare. The judge's questions were direct, and there was nowhere to hide. Robyn's voice shook as she tried to explain her side, but the weight of years of resentment and suspicion was too much. She wasn't just trying for herself, she was mourning the family that had fallen apart right in front of her. Christine sat with David by her side, her posture straight, her eyes steady. When it was David's turn to speak, he didn't waste words. He laid out the facts, the money trails, the broken promises, the sacrifices Christine had made while others benefited. His calm, unwavering delivery cut through the noise, exposing the reality that so many had tried to ignore. Cody, for once, had no clever comeback. He looked down, his hands clenched. The consequences of his choices finally impossible to deny. The fallout was immediate. The family's financial ties were severed, and the emotional wounds were left raw and exposed. Years of shared history, love, and struggle had come down to this: public heartbreak, legal battles, and the realization that some things can't be fixed. The Browns walked out of that courtroom changed, each carrying their own scars, and the dream of unity left in the echo of Robyn's tears. The dust hasn't settled for the Browns, and maybe it never will. Each member is now charting their own path, no longer bound by the old promises that once held them together. Christine is building a new life with David, finally surrounded by the love and respect she always deserved. Janelle is focused on her independence, determined to secure a future for herself and her kids. Meri is pouring her energy into her business, refusing to let the past define her. Robyn, left with the pieces of a dream that turned into a nightmare, faces a future full of questions. And Cody, once the head of it all, is left to reckon with the choices that brought him here. The story of the Browns is a reminder that even the strongest families can break under the weight of secrets, resentment, and broken trust. But it's also a story about survival, about finding your voice, and about the courage it takes to walk away when something isn't working. The drama isn't over. There are still wounds to heal and stories to tell. What do you think?